Hey English 1102 friends, this is a video from the work and labor module, as you can see here. And in fact, I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger. And this video is going to cover a very short story and then two poems. This video is going to cover Escaped Housewife Prefers the Term Cosmetologist, a short poem. Now that the circus has shut down, The Human Cannonball Looks for Work by Megan Phillips, which is the short story, and also The Trash Men down here at the bottom by Charles Bukowski. So this story and this poem all have to do with different kinds of work. Escaped Housewife Prefers the Term Cosmetologist is very clearly has to do with this traditionally feminine kind of work. This woman who was a housewife and now she's going back to work, and she gets this job that is traditionally associated with women. Not practically, that's not necessarily true in a practical way, but you have this sort of traditional association with it. And then you have The Trash Men. It has some of the same effect, because part of what this poem is doing is taking a job that you traditionally think, oh, that's not a desirable job, that's not a great job, that's not a job people go to college to get. But what this poem kind of celebrates is the aspects of that job that are pleasant or positive. And then now that the circus is shut down, The Human Cannonball Looks for Work. The thing that's interesting about this story is the way that it looks. It's about a person who, at its core, as much as it's this sort of funny story about a person who had been the human cannonball, this pretty interesting, unique job, what this story is really about is being in that space between jobs. When your old job is behind you and you're still kind of looking back on it and you remember what it's like to have that job, and your new job is still in front of you, and you're sort of wondering if you'll fit, if you'll adapt correctly, if you'll fit in that new, like what it'll be like to do the new work things versus what it was like to do the old work things. So let's start with, now that the circus has shut down, The Human Cannonball Looks for Work, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here too. She thinks it might be nice to work somewhere quiet, because she's had this active, loud, noisy job. This woman who has been the human cannonball, that's obviously this sort of adrenaline, loud, intense job, and she's thinking it might be nice to work somewhere quiet, a library maybe, or a museum. So she's going to go in the total opposite direction from this sort of exciting job that she's had. She imagines herself pushing a cart full of books, footfalls muffled by carpet. No one looks up as she whispers by. So one of the way this story is designed, I think the most useful way to understand this story is the way that as you work through these little sections, she's looking forward and looking back, and you're getting this fluctuation between those two, sort of like, I'm looking at the past, I'm thinking about the future, those kinds of things. She updates her LinkedIn profile, switches the picture of her posing next to her Canon, that's the old job, it's over now, for one that her mom took at Christmas a few years ago. This one that looks more professional, that might be suitable. If somebody looks her up on LinkedIn, they're like, oh, this person looks like a professional. Could pass for business casual. She stays up reading articles from the Muse on her phone. How to craft a career-changing resume. And this is, as much as this section's funny about like her old job skills, it's also about this sort of common experience people have when they're applying for a new job, where you try to make your resume, your old work experiences fit the kind of job you're looking for. Strong work ethic, 8 shows a week. Company loyalty, she'd been with her circus. Quick learner, she wasn't always the human cannonball, but she learned quickly. She learned quickly at her next job too. She works on a cover letter, but isn't sure how to talk about herself without exclamation points. Again, that's sort of the mood, the vibe of your old job. How do you transition to something new? She heard that there's a field in Indiana full of stunt cannons from all the circuses. Picture seeing them through the window of a train. Again, this sort of reflecting on your past experience, your past work life, thinking about, this work that you'll never do again probably. She calls her friend Ryan. He used to pratfall for bleachers full of people. He's happy to be a reference, but he's not sure how much weight the words of a clown will carry. Part of applying for a new job is getting your friends, your former coworkers, to be your references. And one of her former coworkers is a clown. Sort of funny moment in this story. She gets called for an interview at the public library. The job, if you remember, that's one of the first lines of this story is she's thinking she might want to work at a library now. The night before, she puts on her interview outfit and wheels a shopping cart through the 24-hour grocery. She pretends the cans of soup and box of cereal are books to be shelved. And so, just like anybody trying to get a new job, she's thinking about the skills that she might need, what she might need to know, what she might need to be good at to do this job. She expects to be asked about her old job at the interview, but she doesn't anticipate how difficult it will be to answer. And so right here you get the sort of, it all comes together, the past and the future running together at the end of the story. The head librarian asks if she misses flying. She says yes, because it's simpler. What she really misses is this: the moment before the pneumatic pump launched her from the cannon's mouth, snug in the barrel, with her name on the ringmaster's lips, with a whole tent full of hearts beating for her. She always knew where she was going to land. And so what this story does at the end is take that idea of knowing where you're going to land, which literally she was about to be shot out of a cannon. So she always knew where they had a net set up. She always knew where she was going to land. And she terms that and uses that phrase metaphorically, like where you're going to land for your next job, that sort of idea of where you're going to land in your life, not just with the cannon. So the two, you get the two ideas of this story run together, the old job she used to have, and then she's being shot out of a cannon into her next experience almost, and she's not sure where she's going to land. And so what this becomes is this, as much as, like I said, it's about this sort of person who has this unique job now moving to what is, sort of associated with like a boring, quiet job. Much less adrenaline, if nothing else. And she's just like anybody else, though, going from one job to another and changing and adapting and wondering if she'll fit in and if she'll be happy and all those kinds of things that people think about when they're changing jobs. The next thing we're going to look at, Escaped Housewife prefers the term cosmetologist, also about a person learning to do a new job. And in fact, part of this poem deals with the main character, this woman who is learning to become a cosmetologist, like a hairstylist, someone working at a beauty salon. One of the stanzas of this poem deals with that sort of experience of learning to do the job. Quasi-scientific? Maybe, but think of beautician, a word that assumes loveliness is brought off by technology. This poem shows you, that's really the central idea of this poem, and it shows it to you, it gives it to you right from the beginning. A word that assumes loveliness is brought off by technology. What the work that this person is being trained to do is based on the idea that people need help. That beauty isn't a natural thing. It's a thing that somebody has to work. You have to pay somebody to make for you or craft for you, or at least show you how to improve. And she is becoming part of what the work that she is learning to do here is this. You could read it two ways. The work she is learning to do here is to make people beautiful, or at the very least to make people look less, and we'll use a word that this poem uses, dowdy or dowdy customers, these sort of like bland people that what she's learning how to do is make them look less bland and more beautiful. She prefers cosmetologist, how it seems to have something to do with the stars, and it's sort of a play on the words, like cosmos has to do with the stars in the galaxy, and she's connecting it to cosmetologist, almost like she feels like she has this higher purpose, this higher mission by helping people look beautiful. She believes she can see the future when she stares face down at the globe of a stranger's scalp and adjusts the tilt of his head. At the academy, the beauty academy where she's training, she is learning about the tendencies of things to remain where they fall. She knows some tricks, spritz and gel, the so-called permanent wave. She wonders where they come from, this galaxy of dowdy customers. And so she's working there, and she wonders where all these people come from who need help, who need the kind of work that she's being trained to do. But she's not perfect. She's still learning. Some days her precision cuts hang like torn drapes on a dirty window. I see you've tried an asymmetrical look, her instructor might say. And if you don't know what asymmetrical looks, symmetrical is the two halves of both sides are the same and fit together. So asymmetrical is one side doesn't match the other. So she's giving this person an uneven haircut. Snipping corrections. At the academy, asymmetrical is spelled with a D. So she gave a bad haircut. She gets a bad grade for it. And then this is where the poem circles back to its main idea. She came here to verify what she always suspected, that straight hair must be curled, curly hair straightened, long hair cut, short hair extended, that what comes to us by fate is wrong. And so what you get at the end of this poem is that no matter what you look like, no matter what kind of hair you have, no matter what, people want something different. If you got straight hair, you want it curled. If you got curly hair, you want it straight. If you got long hair, you need a haircut. If you got short hair, you need extensions. So on some level, the work of this job is based on the idea that people are unhappy and need help with how they look. However we naturally look like, we want to pay somebody to make us look different, and because of that, there is this whole industry devoted to helping us look different. And that's what this woman is training to do, is this kind of aesthetic work, this kind of appearance-based, let me help you look how you want to look job. That's very different from the trash men, which in some ways, on a very basic level, being a trash man is not a glamorous job, but it's a very necessary job. Like, all that trash has got to go somewhere, and somebody's got to take it somewhere. If the trash pickup stopped, like, society would grind to a halt pretty quickly. This is a poem by Charles Bukowski, who is Bukowski died in the 1990s. He's mostly a West Coast and especially California writer. Most of his writing is about like Los Angeles or San Francisco, Southern California especially. And this is one of his more famous poems, I think, because it does something that he does very often, which is take a thing that seems not glamorous and not appealing and try to make it show the appeal of it. And so you get this guy, and the person talking in this poem is not a trash man, he's a person watching the trash men, which becomes important in the poem. And you see her at the beginning, it's like he's standing in his front yard, and here comes the trash truck. Here they come, these guys, gray truck, radio playing, they're in a hurry. And so, the first thing that's happy and appealing about this job is these guys are just listening, they're hurrying along, time is passing, and they've just got the radio playing, they're listening to whatever kind of music they want to listen to. They're in a hurry. It's quite exciting. It's not boring. It's not quiet. They're blasting the radio. Shirt open, belly's hanging out. So like these guys don't have to button up their shirt. They don't have to put on a shirt and tie to go to work. It's not that kind of job. They can be comfortable. They run out to the trash bins, roll them out to the forklift, and then the truck grinds it upward with far too much sound. So again, another thing about this is they have to roll the trash bins out to the lift, but the truck does the actual lifting for them. Like, there's not a bunch of heavy lifting. They're not doing a bunch of like heavy lifting all day. The truck lifts it for them. So this is not like a heavy manual labor job where you're wearing yourself out. They had to fill out application forms to get these jobs. They're paying for homes and drive late model cars. And so what you get in this stanza is this is a real job that you have to fill out an application for. And you go and you're able to, afford a house and a car with it. Like, it's a real job. And no matter how unglamorous it is, like, these are people working a, normal job. They get drunk on Saturday night. Another good example for this is not the kind of job you have to work on the weekends. You can go do whatever you want on the weekends. Now, in the Los Angeles sunshine, again, they're not like trapped in a cubicle with fluorescent lights all day. Like, they're out in the fresh air, enjoying the sunshine. It's nice. They run back and forth with their trash bins. All that trash goes somewhere. So they don't have to, they just drop it off at the trash dump and they don't have to deal with it. Like, all they're doing is taking it from one place to another. They don't have to worry about what happens when they drop it off. They shout to each other. Then they're all up in the truck driving west toward the sea. And then the best perk of this job, the best benefit of this job, none of them know that I am alive. If you think about some of the other stories that we've talked about, like A&P, one of the negative parts of that job is customer service. Or even Escaped Housewife prefers the term cosmetologist. She's having to deal with customers, and they may not like the haircut she's giving them. None of them know that I am alive. The trash men don't have to deal with customers. They don't have to deal with customer service. They don't have to worry about being tipped. Like, you got this guy, the speaker in this poem, who's watching these guys, but they don't have to deal with him. They don't have to talk to him. They don't even know he's alive. They run, get the trash cans, dump them, and they're gone. Rex Disposal Companies, the last line, the trash company. But those guys go, they don't even acknowledge this guy. They're not out having to worry about tips, like I said, or anything like that. And so what this poem does is show you all the little ways that this job is appealing, or at the very least pleasant for these guys. They're out in the fresh air. They don't have to, tuck in their shirt and wear a suit and tie. And they don't have to deal with the customers mainly. All they're doing is emptying the trash bins, and the truck even lifts the trash bin up for them. So what this poem does is make this job, it shows you all the positives of this job, this traditionally unglamorous job. So that covers, now that the circus has shut down, the human cannonball looks for work, escaped housewife prefers the term cosmetologist, and the trash men by Charles Bukowski. If you've got questions about any of these three poems, or especially how they fit into the ideas about work and labor and things like that, get with me and we'll talk through those. Otherwise, I hope this was useful to you, and have a nice rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.